The coffee at Elgin Diner had been burnt since 1987, and Adrienne Colborne had chosen the place for exactly that reason. No one who mattered would ever eat here, that was the point. She had been sitting in the corner booth for 41 minutes, wearing a fleece she'd bought at Value Village on Bank Street, and jeans that were 2 sizes too large for her frame. Her hair was tied back without product. Her watch was a drugstore Timex she'd found in a bin near the register. The woman who sat in the boardroom of Colborne Logistics on the 14th floor of the Elgin Tower wore none of this, was none of this, but that woman was not here tonight. 17 men had sat across from Adrienne Colborne in the past 3 years. 17 blind dates, 17 careful performances, and 17 failures on their part. Not moral failures, exactly. Just the ordinary quiet failure of men who saw a woman in cheap clothes, heard her say she worked reception at a downtown office, and began subtracting interest from their faces in real time. She had documented each one. Dates where the conversation shortened as soon as she mentioned her car was a '99 Civic. One man had excused himself for the bathroom and simply never come back. Another had suggested cheerfully that she might enjoy something more casual given her situation. When the bill arrived, 14 of them had divided it evenly. 2 had paid but made a point of mentioning it. 1 had left without saying goodbye. Adrienne was not angry about any of this. She had built her test to find something specific, and the search had simply been long. Harlan Wicks arrived 9 minutes late. He was 60 years old, or close enough not to matter. He wore a faded green flannel shirt under a canvas work jacket that had been washed too many times, and his boots, steel-toed, genuinely broken in, left faint marks of mud near the door. He was not a tall man, but he had the kind of stillness that made a room adjust quietly around him. He spotted Adrienne across the diner, nodded once, and walked to the booth with no particular urgency. "Sorry," he said, settling into the seat across from her. "Traffic on the Queensway. Should have taken the 417 the other way." "It's fine," Adrienne said. "I just got here." The lie came easily after 3 years of practice. Harlan picked up the laminated menu and studied it the way someone reads something they actually plan to take seriously. He asked the server about the soup of the day. He ordered a bowl of it and a grilled cheese sandwich and set the menu down. And then he looked at Adrienne the way very few people did, as if she were the only thing in the room worth paying attention to. "You found the place all right?" he asked. "GPS," she said. "I still do it from memory," he said. "Force of habit. My daughter says I'll drive into the Rideau River someday and I'll deserve it." He said it without self-pity, without performance. He said it the way people speak about things they have simply accepted. "She's in Canada, works for a software company, keeps odd hours." He paused. "She's got a boy 8 years old, Finn. I pick him up from school on Tuesdays and Thursdays." "That's good of you," Adrienne said. "He's good company," Harlan said, and there was nothing further to add. The conversation moved the way conversations do when neither person is in a hurry. Adrienne had become expert at watching men talk, watching which parts of themselves they offered first, whether they listened or only waited for their next turn. Harlan listened. He asked about her work and she gave him the script she'd rehearsed 17 times. Reception desk at a government contractor, the kind of job that paid adequately and required nothing extraordinary. He nodded without condescension. He asked what she did in her time off. She told him she ran and liked the canal in autumn. He said he preferred mornings on the Gatineau River, but that the drive was getting longer as he got older. "What did you do," she asked, "before you retired?" "Computers," he said, "the boring kind." He said this the way people admit to something unremarkable, then thanked the server by name. He had learned it 5 minutes earlier when she'd introduced herself, and meant it. Adrienne had not planned to feel anything tonight. When the plates were cleared and the bill arrived, she reached into her purse. She took her time. Then she let the pause stretch and let her expression shift into the particular embarrassed stillness she had perfected over 3 years of practice. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly. "I think I left my wallet at work." Harlan looked at the bill. He looked at her. "Don't worry about it," he said. He pulled a worn leather wallet from his jacket pocket, the kind that had been folded and unfolded 10,000 times, and put cash on the table. Enough for both meals and a tip that was generous without being showy. "I can e-transfer you," Adrienne said, "as soon as I get home." Please don't, he said simply. It's dinner. As if the amount didn't matter. As if the gesture was not generosity but just ordinary arithmetic. They walked out into the October air, the street quiet except for a bus pulling away from the stop on the corner. Adrienne said she was fine to walk to her car. Harlan said he'd wait until she turned the corner, which he did, without making a performance of it. Before she reached the end of the block, she heard him speak. She turned. He had his phone out and was looking at it with the same focused attention he'd given the menu. Sorry, he said, catching her eye. My grandson. He's supposed to be in bed. He typed something, waited, then typed again. He can't remember how to carry a number in subtraction, and apparently this cannot wait until Tuesday. He held the screen toward her without being asked. A string of texts from someone named Finn, each one more urgent than the last, ending in a photograph of a worksheet with a large question mark drawn in blue crayon. Harlan typed back, draw 10 blocks. Cross out the ones you borrowed. Count what's left. You've got this, bud. The response came in 30 seconds. The same worksheet with the answer filled in, and 3 exclamation marks. Good, Harlan wrote back, now sleep. He put the phone in his pocket and looked up at Adrienne with an expression that was not quite apologetic. Don't be sorry, she said. She meant it more than she expected. She drove home to the condo in Centertown, not the old Civic, which she'd left parked around the corner, but the Audi A6 that lived in the underground parking of her building, and sat in the car for a long time without getting out. In the glove compartment, there was a small notebook with 16 names and 16 dates and 16 observations. She had not added Harlan Wicks to it yet. She wasn't sure where he fit. He had paid without calculating. He had helped a child with subtraction at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, across a city, through a cracked phone screen, with more patience than most people brought to conversations that actually involved them. He had not checked his phone during dinner. He had not mentioned money. He had not tried to determine what she might be worth before deciding how much of himself to offer. She texted him from the car, sitting in the dark, made it home safely. Thank you for dinner. The response came 4 minutes later. Good to hear. Same time next week? She typed yes before she could second-guess herself. They met 4 more times over the following month. Adrienne kept the Civic, kept the fleece, kept the story. Harlan kept showing up in the same rotation of flannels, driving the same 2009 Ram pickup with a crack in the passenger mirror and a back seat full of Finn's hockey gear. He was consistent in the way that only people who don't need to perform can afford to be. On the 3rd date, at a faux place on Somerset Street that Harlan knew by first name and had apparently been visiting since his daughter was in high school, he mentioned that Finn had asked about her. Not once, several times. He said it with mild embarrassment. Adrienne asked how many times, and he said enough. She met Finn on a Sunday afternoon in Gatineau, at the small house on a street of small houses where Harlan had lived for 11 years. Finn was 8 years old and had his grandfather's stillness and his mother's directness and absolutely no interest in playing it cool. He met Adrienne at the door in his socks and a senator's jersey and said, without preamble, "Grandpa says you run on the canal. Have you ever fallen in?" When she told him no, he seemed mildly disappointed. They sat at the kitchen table while Harlan made tea, and Finn showed Adrienne his diorama of the Battle of Vimy Ridge, built from cardboard and modeling clay with a level of detail that seemed excessive for grade 3. He explained the terrain with quiet authority. She found herself asking questions she actually wanted answered. When Harlan set the mugs down and pulled up his own chair, Finn reached for Adrienne's hand the way children do when they have simply decided they like someone. Not slowly, not with deliberation, just suddenly and completely. She looked at Harlan over Finn's head. He was watching them with an expression she did not know yet, soft and careful and something else she couldn't name. Walking to her car afterward, she felt the weight of the lie settle lower in her chest, where it had no room left to go. It was Harlan's daughter who saw the article first. A profile in Ottawa Business Journal, published that Tuesday. Adrienne Colborne, CEO of Colborne Logistics, one of the fastest-growing freight companies in the National Capital Region. A photograph of her in a blazer outside the Elgin Tower, hair professionally done, nothing whatsoever like the woman her father had been describing over Sunday dinners for the past month. She texted him the link without comment. Harlan read it on Wednesday evening, sitting at the kitchen table. He read it twice. Then he set his phone face down on the table and sat with the information for a while, the way he sat with most things, without rushing toward a conclusion. He did not call Adrienne that night, nor the next day. When the silence reached 48 hours, Adrienne drove across the river to Gatineau in her real car, because there was no longer any point. She parked in front of the small house with the vegetable garden that had been put to bed for the season, and knocked before she had time to decide against it. Harlan answered the door in jeans and a flannel she hadn't seen before. His face was not angry. It was something more difficult to argue with, composed and very tired. "Can we talk?" Adrienne said. "I'm not sure there's much to say." "Let me try," she said. He stepped back from the door. They sat at the same kitchen table where Finn had explained Vimy Ridge. Harlan made tea without asking whether she wanted any. The house was quiet. Finn was at his mother's tonight. "I should have told you the truth from the beginning," Adrienne said. "You should have," Harlan agreed. "I've been doing this for 3 years," she said. "Meeting men, letting them believe I had nothing, watching how they changed." She kept her eyes on his. 17 men before you. Every one of them subtracted something. Interest, attention, time, the moment they thought money wasn't coming. You didn't." "You were testing me," Harlan said. "It was not a question." "Yes." He turned his tea mug between his hands. "I don't know how to feel about that," he said at last. "Not because you're a CEO. Because you were willing to make me a subject without telling me. You made Finn part of it." That last sentence was the one that landed. "I know," Adrienne said. She did not look away. "I know that's what I did. I don't have a defense for it. I have a reason. Men have used me before in ways that were unkind and efficient and very well planned. I got tired of not knowing, but I understand if that reason isn't enough." "It might not be," he said. "Then I'll leave," she said. "I just needed to say it to your face." She stood. "Sit down," Harlan said quietly. She sat. He was still for a moment outside. A neighbor's dog barked twice and stopped. "Finn asked me this morning why you hadn't come around," Harlan said. "I didn't know what to tell him." "What did you say?" "That adults sometimes need time to figure things out." He looked at her steadily. "He said that was what I said when his mother got divorced. He said adults take a very long time to figure things out." Despite everything, Adrienne almost smiled. "He's not wrong," she said. "No." Harlan set down his mug. "I'm going to tell you something," he said, "and I'd like you to hear it before you decide anything." She waited. "I sold a company in 2011, he said. Wix Morley Software, mapping systems for municipal infrastructure. 14 years of work. He said what came next without inflection, as though announcing weather. "I sold it to an American firm for enough that I don't need to do anything I don't choose to do for the rest of my life." He met her eyes. "I drive the truck because I like the truck. I pick up Finn because I want to. I wore the same flannels on our dates because those are my shirts and I don't own other ones." Adrienne looked at him for a long moment. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you spent 3 years trying to find someone who wouldn't change when money entered the room," Harlan said. "I thought you should know we were both hiding something. Except I wasn't hiding, I was just being quiet. There's a difference." He paused. "I've had people want things from me too. Women who found out about the sale and became very interested very quickly. I understand the experiment. I just would have preferred to be told about it." The kitchen was very still. "If we started over," Adrienne said carefully, "honestly, what would that look like?" "Honest is the only requirement," Harlan said. "Everything else is negotiable." "I'm better at the parts after the fear," she said. "Most people are," he said. 3 weeks later, Adrienne sat at that same table on a Saturday morning, helping Finn with a book report on Terry Fox while Harlan made pancakes. Plain ones, because Finn had strong feelings about mix-ins, and the radio played quietly from the counter. There was a cup of coffee beside her that was made correctly. Finn was leaning against her arm the way he leaned against his grandfather, without asking permission, without making it a thing. "Ellie," Finn said, without looking up from his worksheet. He had given her the name on her second visit, and she had not corrected him, because it suited the version of herself she was still learning to trust. Do you think Terry Fox knew he was going to be famous?" Adrienne considered it honestly. I don't think he was thinking about that, she said. I think he was thinking about 1 more mile. Finn wrote something down. That's probably better, he said. Harlan set a plate of pancakes in the center of the table and pulled up his own chair, and the morning settled around all 3 of them, the way mornings do in houses where people have stopped performing for each other. She had designed a test to find someone who wouldn't change. She had not expected to change herself. But there it was, a kitchen in Gatineau, a child who talked about Terry Fox, a man in a faded flannel who drove a truck with a cracked mirror and made plain pancakes on Saturdays because that was what Finn liked. 1 more mile.